Hello there, and a big warm welcome back to Join Digital episode 4. So we've had a busy morning already. We've had 2 sessions. We've heard from Digital as they run through their Hitting the Mark report, which is their annual e-commerce research paper. And we've also heard from Mary at Alank Group as she talked about leveraging zero, first and third party data. And now I'm very pleased to introduce Tom Rickards from Fresh Relevance, who will be talking through some marketing tips and tricks of how to come back stronger after a crisis. So before I pass over to Tom, just a quick note to say that the session should last about 30 minutes or so. We'll try and get to questions at the end, but any that we don't manage to cover will be answered offline. We're also recording the session, and that will be available on demand later on today, maybe tomorrow morning, and we'll make sure we send out an email so that you can catch up on any of the content if you'd like to do so. Okay, so Tom, if you're ready, I'm going to pass over to you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Perfect. Thanks very much for having me. Hi everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, and yeah, thanks again for joining me today. So I'm Tom Rickards, the host for this webinar. I'm a account director at Fresh Relevance, which means that it's my job to help my clients ensure that they're getting the most out of the platform, very much from a strategic perspective. So what I'm going to go over today. Firstly, which tactics actually deliver ROI, enhance user experience, and build loyalty. How to make decisions to propel your business forward. The importance of geotargeting, and then some further action points that you can actually take away and put into place now. So just before I actually jump into the full webinar content, I just want to give you a really quick overview of who we are and what we do for those of you that don't already know Fresh Relevance. So we're a comprehensive real-time personalization platform, which can be used to collect customer data, analyze it, and then personalize it. So we help digital marketers achieve their ultimate goal of boosting customer loyalty and revenue by creating an optimized journey across all channels and devices. The platform gathers data wherever customers go, then brings it all together in one place with existing data, showing real-time behavior and insights combined with the power to act on it. Product features include cross-channel personalization, dynamic images, product recommendations, data capture popovers, triggered emails, social proofing, geo-targeting, and a whole lot more too. We are trusted by over 500 websites worldwide, and you can see a few of them here on this slide. And we have offices in London, Southampton, Boston, and Amsterdam. And we've been helping businesses boost revenue and build loyalty since 2012. So to get things actually started, let's talk about some of the current challenges that you as marketers are likely to be facing. So even before the crisis, personalization and at-home convenience were gaining massive momentum. Netflix and chill was becoming the standard Friday night for many people across the globe. Consumers were craving more personalized interactions with retailers, asking for their product offerings to be tailored to their interests. So that's why we're seeing likes of subscription retailers like Birchbox rising in popularity as they send beauty products to customers each month based on their unique preferences. All trends point to a paradigm shift that was occurring before the crisis started. So consumers were asking more of retail in general, demanding proximity, greater flexibility, and customization. And this trend is only going to be accelerated now as more and more people are shopping online. And how brands actually respond at this time is really going to be crucial. So one of my favorite responses that I've seen is actually how Time Out have had a total rebrand to Time In. It's a seriously nice touch. They've, edited the whole content that they're showing to people, the whole offering essentially, and the results are speaking for themselves in terms of what they're doing. Having coronavirus information front and center of your website in easy to find banners, just like this canopy and stars example, really has become commonplace for websites now. And this is actually something that we're offering help with through what we call our critical messaging content tools. So if anyone does want any assistance or wants to discuss that, then do please get in touch as well. The sort of content that brands are putting out has to keep up with the current situation. So whether that's offering useful advice or just making your products that actually benefit people staying at home more prominent, if you're not adapting your messaging, then you're potentially setting yourself up to fail. The current economic downturn and the impact on retailers is now really going to be significant. Consumers will have less disposable income, shop less, or do more bargain hunting, while retailers have to deal with marketing budgets being cut, less money for expensive acquisition marketing, while obviously still being expected to hit their revenue targets, which I'm sure sounds familiar for most of you. We ran a poll recently with our customers, and it was pretty much a resounding 90% said that they'd had their budgets affected in some way by the current crisis. That's a lucky 10% if you're not. So what then are some tactics that you can deliver to help boost ROI, enhance UX, and build loyalty? As you may well have guessed already, we very much believe in the power of personalization, and here are some key stats to show you why. So 59% of customers say that personalization influences their shopping decision. 77% of consumers have chosen, recommended, or paid more for a brand that provides a personalized service or experience. And over 78% of consumers will only engage with offers if they have been personalized to their previous engagements with the brand. And just another kind of final statistic that proves those points is companies that invest in a best of breed personalization platform like ours can see a 25% of their sales actually influenced by personalization. So where should you actually start with all of this? Now more than ever, it really is critical to drive maximum value from the most effective marketing touchpoints that you own, which are email and the website. Email remains the marketing channel that delivers the best ROI at a fraction of the costs of other forms of marketing, including pay-per-click and paid social. Meanwhile, the website is your storefront to the world. So offering an optimized experience through these two channels provides online businesses with a great opportunity to drive sales. So then how can you actually go about recovering some of those lost sales? If people are shopping with you, you absolutely want to reach out if they interrupt their browsing session or if they cart something and then leave. An abandoned cart or browse session could easily be the result of distractions during this difficult time. Shoppers routinely cart items and abandon them. We can track what is happening with our customers' websites and can see that around 57% of customers abandon their carts. These are customers that took the time to visit your site, shop for items, and select something for possible purchase. So sending out a cart abandonment email is a simple, highly cost-effective way to claim back some of that revenue. And it works. Our customers receive an average 7% sales uplift from cart recovery emails. And for our clients, this can amount to an extra £73,000 per £1 million of turnover. And that's taken from our Q4 quarterly report, which you can find on our website. So that additional revenue, it really could be critical during these recessionary times. So best practice is to send a recovery email around 30 minutes after the cart is abandoned, but you should definitely test the timings to find out what works best for you and your customers. It could be a difference between 20 minutes being more effective for something than actually an hour for others, but roughly speaking, 30 minutes is a safe starting point. The subject line should really make it clear why the shopper received the email and why they should open it. It's always a good idea to include obviously the name of your brand and the name of the product itself that people have carted. So FFX is a really perfect example here. They're using some of our unique features like the hero image at the top, where you have image banners personalized. So if someone is browsing a particular brand, in this case Milwaukee, then they'll see Milwaukee imagery at the top of it. But if it's a Makita product, then the imagery will update accordingly, and likewise with the product recommendations that are being shown as well. It could be if it's a browser abandon example, then maybe they want to keep the recommendations a bit broader and just show, wider bestsellers across the website. But if it's a cart abandon, they know that they've got that person's got more of that brand affinity, so they can then make those recommendations even more targeted for them. So people have landed on your websites, your products have interested them, but they didn't buy anything. And this time they didn't even cart a product. So our research indicates that for every 100 visitors to your website, 39 will look at products, but only 12 of them will actually put an item in their basket. So then browse abandon could be a costly challenge without a simple solution. But luckily there are ways to bring these browsers back. And browse recovery emails let you communicate with browse abandoners in real time and encourage them to continue shopping. Browse recovery triggers an email to a shopper reminding them of what products they looked at. And you can also trigger a customized note on the website, so like a popover when a shopper returns to your site to help them pick up where they left off. So whereas cart abandonment emails should emphasize the abandoned product, browse abandonment emails can show items a bit more as though they're in a catalog. It's also a good idea to include really relevant product recommendations in case the shopper didn't find exactly what they're looking for. So these could be a mix of recently browsed products, similar items, and popular items in that specifically browsed category. You should always finish strong with a clear call to action. It should be easy to locate so customers can quickly find their way back to the website. We generally recommend using an imperative verb that encourages the recipient to continue shopping, and consider creating a bit of urgency with something like a countdown timer, counting down to a particular offer or to next day delivery cutoff point. But don't overdo it and don't use any misleading language. So this example from My Optique is really effective. It combines name personalization, the product itself that's been browsed, and then some similar product recommendations, which in addition have their Trustpilot star ratings actually integrated into, which creates a really compelling browse abandon email. So when paired with cart abandonment, browse is an ROI-rich marketing approach. And one of the knocks on browse abandonment could be the challenge of customer identification. So you obviously have to be able to match the browse session to a customer. And early users of programs offered through email providers could have sometimes found that because of the identification problem, they might actually give up on doing this. They just weren't able to trigger enough emails to get the ROI that they wanted. So always make sure that you're using a solution that matches not only if the customer has actually clicked through from an email, but also by using the IP address and first-party cookies to maximize that ID rate as much as possible. So obviously with ID rates being so important and many online retailers seeing increased traffic at the moment due to more people being at home, how can you actually maximize on this and of course be growing your email list? So yeah, let's face it, during a recession, you can't afford to spend a large chunk of your budget on acquisition marketing. You need to have a strong base of prospects that you can inexpensively and effectively market to. So in order to reach these prospects, you need their email address, which is why a smart acquisition strategy is critical. Having well-timed popovers that you can customize quickly can reduce the website bounce rate and incentivize customers to share their email address. So with their email address and technology to see what they are doing on your site, you can then engage consumers much more effectively and efficiently. But definitely don't adopt a one-size-fits-all popover approach. Brands can use their website visitors' behavioral and transactional data to trigger personalized communication to the right person in the right place at the right time with the right messaging. So, for instance, marketers can time a popover based on their behavioral or transactional data, actually teeing up a popover that highlights a particular offer just for them. So before we actually dive into a couple of examples, here's how to make sure that your popovers are as engaging as possible. So timing, obviously no one likes to be interrupted. A popover that seems to appear for no apparent reason could cause potential customers to leave the website. I think we've all experienced it where you've literally been on a website for less than a second and you've had a popover come up in your face and it's actually a bit of a turn off. So definitely think about the timing and when and where you're actually showing them to people. It's very much where behavioral type popovers come in. Context, so the best way to actually get the timing right is to serve popovers in response to a browser's behavior. To work out whether to use a popover and what content to include, consider things like the shopper's interests, their stage in the customer life cycle, and their actual place in the buying journey. Definitely don't let the design be an afterthought. So a great popover makes your brand look professional and trustworthy. Maximize engagement, try to include a compelling call to action and clearly show the value that you're offering. Don't put shoppers off by asking for too much information. Once you actually have a visitor's email address, you can then get to know them better. In some instances, obviously it's fine to ask for a first name, or I don't know, if it's a subscription type, then maybe a simple drop-down list or a tick box, but don't overdo it. Like the core thing really is getting that email address. So the simpler that you can make to do that, the better. And then, like I say, all of the further information can come afterwards. And then finally, obviously, just keep testing. Ensure that your popovers are doing a good job by continually testing and optimizing. Try out different timings, placement, and the content itself to find out what actually works best for your customers. So with those thoughts in mind, let's actually look at a couple of examples. So feel-good contacts are a really great example of how to do data capture well, and we do have a case study for them on our website if anyone would like to look at that as well. They have this non-intrusive, persistent sign-up banner at the bottom of the page, so it can be dismissed and called back at any point of the user journey. They could be browsing the website and then decide that they want that 10% offer, then fill in their details, as opposed to, say, a typical popover, which maybe comes up the second that you've landed on a site, you've been annoyed by it, you've closed it down, but then gone on to actually want to buy something and gone, oh, I wish I had that 10% off now. So this definitely, cancels out that. When the person actually starts typing their email address in, the privacy policy then appears, so they're then ticking off all of their boxes for GDPR. And then when they hit submit, the coupon code itself is generated there and then to avoid disrupting the customer journey too. Now, this depends obviously on your specific policies for opting in. We have other customers using examples similar to this, where rather than displaying the coupon code there and then, it says check your inbox, because we've got a double opt-in policy. So, just obviously this can be customizable to yourself, but the least that you can avoid interrupting the customer journey is always the better. So they then have different versions for different customers. So if you're already signed up, you would then instead see an offer to incentivize you to download their app instead. Or if you're a student, which they're able to identify from the .ac.uk of their email address, you're then taken to the Student Beans landing page instead, so you can get the offers from there. So they use this persistent sign up in a combination with an exit intent popover. So when someone makes a motion as if they're going to leave the page, but only when they have products within their carts, they're then prompted to say, hey, are you sure you want to leave? Please give us your email address, and we'll send you a reminder of that cart so that you can come back later. With those two in combination, they actually achieved over a 300% uplift in signups. So, a really good example of how to be using data capture well. This pure collection example shows how you can combine product recommendations within popovers. So in this example, the customer would already be identified. So as they've gone, as if they're about to leave the page, they're being reminded of what they're leaving behind in their basket in the hope that they won't actually leave that session. It could be that, you know, they've just gone off to make a cup of tea or whatever and come back and could have closed down the page and forgotten what they were doing. This being in front of them will remind them, oh, actually, I do want that shirt, so I'm going to go back to my basket and buy it now. Or if they were unidentified, then you could show them, you know, as well as this, a sign-up form saying, we'll send you a reminder of these great products so that you can come back to them later, you know, at a time that's more convenient for you. So when times are tough, obviously it's more important than ever to try and maximize on sales profits. So make it easy for those customers who are most likely to be interested to discover products with high profit margins or that you want to clear from your warehouse, as an example. The capabilities of your product recommendations solution will be the key for success here. So you need to be able to design a recommendation strategy that meets your unique goals. So our clients see an average of 10% sales uplift from recommendations. So your options could be limited if your product recommendations engine only offers basic recommendation types, such as, you know, your standard bestsellers or new arrivals, or if it's a black box in terms of how it decides which products it recommends. It can mean that you're wasting precious marketing real estate by recommending, say, low price items such as light bulbs when you could be recommending higher priced items like lampshades. You know, look for a solution that lets you flexibly set the rules for what products to display throughout the purchase journey. So, for example, if a customer carted and abandoned a puffer jacket and you stock similar items with a higher profit margin, make sure to recommend those alternatives in your cart abandonment email. Is the end of the season approaching and you've got some stock left from the previous, or do you have items that sell slowly in a particular size or color? You know, why not highlight those products to shoppers who have browsed them in the past? You could prominently feature the item in the viewed colorway on your website, or you could send customers a price drop alert when their size has gone on sale. Ideally, you should choose a technology that updates the content within the template in real time. So if an email is opened a couple of days after sending, the trending product feed will be assembled at the time of open, at open time, so that the suggestions are still always going to be relevant for them. Retailers will have to reconnect with consumers both during and after the crisis, and we believe that data is massively going to be their greatest ally. But what does it mean to really know customers and understand the changing market conditions of this new context in which we find ourselves? So for many, the first step is analysing what was happening before the crisis, as well as staying on top of what is happening as COVID-19 unfolds. Even though it may not seem like it while we are all confined to our homes, with data, retailers have never before had the chance to be closer to consumers as they do now. When this is over, we won't shop the way that we used to for some time, and after experiencing supply shortages, buying in bulk to avoid multiple trips to the store, ordering skincare products online rather than in store, and going to the nearest supermarket out of necessity rather than preference, consumers will be reluctant to spend frivolously, and saving money will hold greater priority. So local one-to-one marketing will definitely take precedence over the kind of blanket marketing campaigns for greater personalization and higher conversion. Convenience and proximity will become even more important factors when it comes to making purchasing decisions. The time to take decisive action really is now, and data is the bridge that makes reconnecting with consumers possible. So there's a wealth of data that you can and should analyze. People's behavior might have changed during the crisis. So even if you think that you knew everything about your customers beforehand, it's important that you take a look again now. Behavioral and transactional data will give you a more accurate picture of a customer's current preferences and habits. And insights can be gleaned by looking at behavioral information such as their browse data, you know, what products, brands, product categories have they actually looked at, abandoned cart data, the content consumed, search keywords, visitor frequency, transactional data, such as their purchase history. The more information that you leverage in your marketing, the more precisely and accurately tailored your content can be. Once you've defined the behavioral information, it's then time to actually bring it to bear. So when customers come to your site, you want to make them feel as if the offers were designed especially for them. And one way you could achieve this is through dynamic content. Decide which sections of your homepage or even the entire homepage you want to tailor to each individual and set rules for what piece of dynamic content to actually display. For example, you could offer items that are on sale or have just dropped in price to bargain hunters who regularly hunt for bargains, or who will make an impulse buy when an item is discounted. You could show special discounts or coupons to frequent browsers who are very engaged on your site but haven't bought anything yet. Trigger price drop alerts to inform shoppers when their favorite product has been discounted outside of a normal sale. You can send alerts to those shoppers who have recently browsed a product that has now dropped in price. Trigger emails to inform shoppers that an item is back in stock as well. So if they've recently browsed an out of stock product and then it's come back in, people want to know about that. A perfect example for this that I've been using recently is hand sanitizer, actually. I know my local pharmacy had a kind of specific date that I'd been literally waiting for it to come back in. So, having that information front and center can really make a difference in getting those additional sales in. Another data point to look at is price affinity. So imagine that you could foresee the amount a new shopper was going to spend. With AI-powered price affinity predictions, this is becoming a reality. Many retailers struggle to identify and present items in the shopper's desired price level, even though they may have products available. So as the shopper hasn't expressed their interests yet, by predicting the shopper's price point, you can provide an even more relevant and targeted experience to the new website visitors from the moment that they actually arrive. So an AI-powered algorithm looks at the individual's contextual data, such as their traffic source, the device, the time of day, and their location, and it then compares this information with similar people who have gone on to make a purchase. So this then allows you to anticipate what a new visitor's price affinity will actually be and present them with products that sit well within their price range. So this is likely to align more closely with what they're looking for and encourage them to engage more with your brand. Always make sure to filter based on real-time information. So a recession will bring out the bargain hunters, as I've said. So if you know which of your customers are particularly price sensitive, you can then offer suggestions that might fit their budget or alert them to sales on items that they've browsed on. And then actually knowing a website visitor's location is another extremely useful data point to look at. And it brings us to our last topic of geotargeting. So we recently ran a poll with our customers asking, do you show on your website in which local store an item is actually available? And the answer was pretty much a resounding no, which could be a really big missed trick. So many customers prefer to test or try on items in store before they buy, and retailers risk frustrating customers if they don't know in which local store that they can find that item. And obviously with movement restrictions still in place, this becomes even more important. So a perfect example is someone like Homebase, who could really benefit from saying to someone, well, actually, this is in stock locally to you. Obviously, people are still DIY mad at the moment with all that extra time at home, but they want to spend as little time in store as possible. Then equally on the reverse side of that, Lloyd's Pharmacy, for example, are actually flagging how to stay away from the locations and use their deliver at home services or their virtual doctors instead. So it's an interesting time, definitely. The ability to be in the right place at the right time, obviously with the right message, is the ultimate goal for any marketer. The better that you understand an individual's behavior and their interests, the more relevant and helpful the communications will actually be. So the impact is even bigger when you combine this information with context around a customer's location. With geotargeting tactics, marketers have a huge opportunity to connect with customers on a deeper level, which ultimately leads to a more tailored experience, which in turn makes shoppers' lives easier and encourages a purchase. So sharing useful details such as opening hours, directions to a customer's nearest store might be the more common use of location-based marketing. But geotargeting can take personalization much further by matching a product's location with a shopper's location and behavior. You can customize email and website content to only display products available in nearest store based on the location at the time of browsing. So Pavers is a really good example for this. Pavers shows a product's in-store availability on the product detail page. And with the right technology, this kind of data can be used to fuel product recommendations on the websites and in their emails too. So the action points from this to actually take away, number one, start with collecting and analyzing your data. Learn as much as possible about your customers and start now. Even if people are not buying right now, you need to know what they browsed so you can offer it when they're ready to make a purchase again. Two is based on your data, start personalizing their experience. Don't treat everybody the same. People will be in different stages right now. Some will have been badly affected by the crisis. Others might have actually saved lots of money and are just waiting for the inspiration on how to spend it. So tools like the price affinity calculator will be extremely useful, for example. And then, number three, test, be flexible, be innovative. Tactics that worked in the past may not work anymore at the moment. The economic situation has changed. 42% of people surveyed by Valisys said that they were shopping online more, and chances are that some people will continue to do so in the future. Your typical customers might be different now, and you need to learn about their new behavior, their new preferences. Retailers who can and do adapt the quickest will definitely have the greatest advantage here. So that is it from me. A lot of the content that I've spoken about is also available in our ebook, Making the Most of a Tough Situation, which is available for download from the resources page on our website. And I think I possibly have time for a quick question or two, maybe.
Awesome, thanks very much, Tom. Some great examples there. We did have a quick question through. This person asked, what revenue impact have you seen across your clients through COVID-19?
Okay, yeah, we've seen a big impact, definitely. It's very much dependent on on different industries, and obviously the kind of obvious choices across our client base are people like travel and events industries have obviously been hit really hard, whereas the main focus of this is obviously around the retail side of things, and we've seen a really interesting split across that. Toys and games, for example, have seen a huge spike. Food and drink as well, home and garden, I mentioned Homebase, and technology providers have all done really well recently. Things that maybe haven't as much, I don't know, kind of insurance and finance, automotive, people have maybe been hit as well. We've actually put out 2 now blogs on this. One was specifically on the figures in March, and one was literally released yesterday on March and April's figures across our client base. So again, that's available on our resources page to look at, and there's some really interesting findings in there to see how these different industries have been affected, and maybe for yourselves you can check in on how that's actually comparing with how you're seeing things at the moment too.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much, Tom. So that brings us to the end of the session. Thanks very much for joining us. So just a couple of bits before we pop off. So up next at Join Digital, we're going to be discussing how you can maximize the value of your data with advanced analytics, as we welcome back Alant Group for another session. So as always, we're going to send out an email reminder 10 minutes before the next session. So we'll be logging off now, and then we'll see you again very shortly. Tom, big thank you again. Thanks very much for joining us. Episode 4, it was great having you. And thanks to everyone who logged in to listen to this session. As I did mention at the beginning, all the sessions are recorded and they'll be available on demand. We'll make sure we send an email out later today just to give you the link of where you can catch up on the content. But yeah, I hopefully see you very soon for the next session, and goodbye.